you see that guy run up, and it's not that guy. Those guys shatter, but then this guy, I'm like, I saw what you did.
He's all like,
you hit him. And he's like, oh, I thought I had you tricked. So you know, like, kind of keeping in line with the idea of this this cooling mechanism, this frozen area. There are these Houdini splicers that use ice abilities. They can freeze to basically be decoys.
That's a great idea. Was it your area?
Actually, ice splicers existed in the ice area of BioShock 1. We pushed on them like in the iced over hallway of Fort Frolic. So they had the effects for like the ice projectiles that they did and all that kind of stuff, and we were like, oh yeah, those, and we did a little bit more work on them, like making them more vulnerable to fire and immune to ice and stuff like that. But it was basically like, what's this place about? It's about these enemies it's about this frozen place. So oh yeah, we should juice those guys up a little bit more and bring them back and make them more central to the experience of this part of the level.
How long was it in production?
It was about total end to end from like conception to actually shipping. It was something like 9 months, but for the first couple months of that, it was like just me on it. And I did the story treatment, and I did the very rough initial layout for all 3 of the levels. And then Scott Lagrasta and Mario De Peza took over the second and third levels, and I stayed on the first level and was the level designer that did the build out and the scripting, all of that stuff. And so then it was really in like full production for about 6 months. It was, like it was one of those things where we had hard constraints. It was like, it's a DLC, so it is nowhere near important enough to justify like a delay. It's like, no, you're coming out when you're coming out. Like you don't get to say, oh, we need 2 more months. So it made us need to take the production constraints very seriously. But that also allowed us to say, all right, so we're not making it any longer than this. We're not adding any more than that.
When you have a strong idea, a lot of people, I think the length of schedules in the game industry and what people expect, like what people imagine it takes to make a game, is really, really misleading. In that, if you knew exactly,
look at this guy. He wanted the treats, but he got frozen. Oh, but I almost had them.
Those chips.
Check this out, bro.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just picturing him being frozen in there, but alive.
Like
he's just like no. All right, so yeah, this place is frozen over. I need to get down to basically the controls for the cooling turbines. To both. Oh yeah, we had this. Oh no.
Here are those turbines.
I think I might. Oh wait. Yeah, I will. I'll see what happens. I don't actually know what's gonna happen. Wade. Hi, Wade.
Wade, named after Wade Phillips, defensive coordinator for Houston Texans.
There we go. Yeah. Whiffed him right off of there. Fuck that guy. Yeah, we did not make him like jib, but getting flung away, I think is pretty good. Alright, so here's a little backstory, like behind the scenes-ish kind of thing. So like I was saying earlier, we wanted to have different ways for the player to get at them that weren't just fighting big daddies. So you find these jars; they're all labeled with a name. This one says Ronaldo on it. And if you break it open, it has an atom slug that is inside it, like in salt water or whatever. You can get it now. You get some atom. And there were 9 of these total. There were like 3 in each level, 3 of these jars, and each of them was named after one of the main one of the full-time content creators for Minerva's Den. So Ronaldo was the level artist on the 2nd level of Minerva's Den, and there's Steve and Carla and
the chamber leading to mainframe access is defrosting as we speak. Head on back there.
Will, the gameplay programmer, and basically everybody got a little bit of representation by being a horrible slug in a jar that you could eat for points. But you know, we thought we figured that like the kinds of people who would work in Minerva's Den, you know, the very scientific, curious people that would populate this place would do something like get an atom slug and keep it on their desk in a jar and kind of like, you know, have it as this little specimen. And it was also a place to do just a little internal
That was just a guy.
joke.
That wasn't even a splicer. That was just a guy.
No, he was. No, I could tell. I know him.
We can't tell now. You can drill a hole in his body.
You want to look at his? You want to look at his horrible visage? That guy's not normal.
That guy looks a little normal to me.
He's got one big eye, one little eye.
So maybe
He's got a big boil on his head.
sick.
Thomas Bousquet asks, how did the sound design and direction go in Minerva's Den?
Oh, who are they pissed at? Oh, this Alpha Big Daddy got pissed off at my guys.
Oh man.
So how did it go? It went all right. No, I mean we had our audio. Oh hi, our audio lead Michael Camper, who did who did a lot of the audio for BioShock 2. Devoted some of his time to Minerva's Den, and he did a pass doing all level audio, setting up the music stings, the music scripting, and all that kind of stuff. But it was a very similar process to the rest of the game. It was mostly just doing what we knew how to do. Like we built the whole thing. We know how to get it set up so that an audio lord can just go in there and get it done. And so Michael, got in there and did a pass and made it sound good. Kind of late in the game. Oh no! I used my telekinesis too late. You're just gonna slap me. I see.
Oh my goodness.
Get out of my face! Throw it at me. No, not that. Oh yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Okay, you can hit these guys with a spear and then grab the spear with telekinesis and repeatedly throw it at them. Instead of wasting more ammo, you can be like, I'm gonna keep hitting you with the same spear. Presumably, it's getting
a different gun in your hand too, then, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, you can hit them with one. You can have telekinesis out and like the laser gun or machine gun or whatever, and be fighting a big daddy and just hit them with one spear and be tagging them with this spear over and over while you're dumping like machine gun rounds or whatever into them. So that's fun. Oh, and we did a lot with the color palette here. So when you probably saw when we first came in, it was like a very blue, cold area, and when you turn the cooling device back to normal, like it gets to be this orange, kind of warm color, and the water, the bubbles are flowing through here again. This tunnel, the tunnel remains frozen because it's kind of outside of the main area. But yeah, we were like something that's really cool about the concept for that area, which is a concept that Scott LaGrasse, the level designer, came up with, is that you get to do a big state, like the designer gets to do a big state change to that area of the level in general. The designer gets to say, oh, it's going to be frozen. And you get to see it in a different way. But then the player also gets to say, when I pull this switch, this entire part of the level changes visibly. Like I had an impact on the world and the state of the world. And I think that's something that if you can pull it off, if you can do like a big pass, like in JP's level in BioShock 1, Arcadia, when you saw all the trees die off, and then when you used the Lazarus effect, you saw them all come back to life. I think that kind of stuff has a big impact.
I agree.
So I'm about to get into the last level. I have a good story about where the big idea for Minerva's Den came from.
Big idea.
One big idea, and it actually partially came from JP.
A book JP had called Minerva's Den.
You asked how I came up with the name. It was on the front of this book JP gave
And then
me.
inside of it was the story of this video game
And then
that I wrote down.
And then inside of that,
And I threw the book in a fire after that. And nobody could trace it back to me.
wait, you made this DLC, Sean?
No, this is my Steve Gaynor.
Oh, well, that's a good. I didn't even. I thought I was talking. It was so good. So yeah, basically the idea behind this thing, as talking about how
That's Nine Spider-Man Chris. Says Game Dreamer.
as mentioned, talking about like the idea of this DLC like the space being like you're going deeper and deeper into the computer. You're also in physical space.
Calls coming from inside the computer.
Yeah. In physical space, you are also going like deeper into like the Earth.
Like Diablo.
Yeah, I mean, I love Diablo 1. I love the fact that you're just going deeper and deeper down into these catacombs and everything. Yeah.
That made that game feel.
Yeah, and it felt very different, I thought, from like Diablo 2 in that way. And so yeah, just like the fact that you're not just going further into the level, but like every time you go to a new part of the game, you're also just like deeper into the fucking crust of the Earth. You know, part of the point of DLC, is that you know you're exploring kind of the obsessions and the mental state of Porter by finding the story through the audio diaries and the stuff that he talks about. And I think that you know there's something somewhat interesting about the idea of you're going deeper into, you know, like the subconscious, that his not just the space, but his thoughts and who he is by completing these goals and getting further into the game. And we wanted to emphasize that through the physical space, through how you transition, you know, between the spaces, going further and further down elevators and. You know, like we in the final level of the DLC, we wanted there to be like a lot of living rock and stuff, which you know that came from in part from Hephaestus from BioShock 1, where there was all of this living rock. You know, all of these the rock walls. The technology is kind of built into and welded onto these living surfaces. I should use this. Is there a fucking clown? Oh, wait, there is a clown, but is there a upgrade station somewhere? I should know that. Let's see. Gene bank. I guess it must be later. I've been gathering enough slugs that I actually could buy some upgrades, and I might need them.
Killanesh wants to know why the pipe dream hacking game from Bio 1 was replaced with the little meter, like golf swing thing you guys did in this game.
Sure. I mean, there are a lot of different reasons, but one was just that all of the designers on BioShock 2, you know, we're big fans of BioShock 1, and we also tended to be hacking players, and we played a lot of pipe dream in BioShock 1, and there's a certain like minimum amount of time that you can spend on one of those pipe dream puzzles. Even if you have a lot of expertise at it. And so we wanted to both say, all right, we're going to make each instance of this hacking game slightly less onerous, so that you're not discouraged from continuing to do it just by how much investment you have to have in each time, as well as we wanted to keep it more in the sim, you know, like keep it more in real time, because the hacking game pauses the game and you're in everything freezes and you're in this meta screen where you're solving this puzzle. I think it's something that's good about the hacking game in BioShock 2 is you have to deal with it while guys are shooting at you, or while the turret that you set off is still like sending bots at you or whatever. And there's this pressure.
Yeah, sometimes I would actually run to hack something in the middle of a fight in Bio 1 just to like take a chill for a second.
Exactly. Oh man, that reminds me. I forgot to find the dead cat in the second level. But
what was his name?
Let's find out what this one is. So this is dead cat. This is Turing.
Oh.
So the one in the first is Babbage. The second level is Lovelace, named after Ada Lovelace, and then Turing is the cat that you can find in the third level. So there's this. So we are, you know, like working up towards a character reveal. You know, like Wall starts taunting you with this idea of you don't even know who you are. You don't really know who Tenenbaum and Porter are. They're telling you what to do, but why do they want you to do these things? So as you're going through these tunnels, kind of these twisting passageways, approaching the computer core, he's starting to push you to say, what is your role in this, really?
Ryan's secret police came for Porter long ago.
It's like, oh yeah, I guess I wrote it. I made like the first one. Yeah, so Wall is here physically. Like you saw him through the window in
sort of like
the guts.
Yes.
Well, but also getting near characters, right?
What? Yeah, getting near characters is sort of like that. That's like that.
You've nearly encountered them, and they're right out of your reach, right? Yeah, because you saw him through a window in the second level, and now he, you're pursuing him through this through these tunnels, chasing him towards the final goal. It's going to be a confrontation with him, but also. Huh? A confrontation, yeah, like an emotional.
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of heads.
Hey Steve, which visual scripting solution are you using in Unity?
It's called Uscript.
Uscript, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the culmination of the story and of the conflict with the physical conflict with Wall. So you are approaching where the programming for the Thinker is, which is what you've been trying to get to this entire time. You have to listen around. So here's.
Read that.
Yeah.
Well, Thinker, Ryan's secret police are on their way. They cooked up some kind of evidence against me. Treason, they say. I've heard what happens to folks who get disappeared, come back as one of those metal daddies. So I'm leaving you with something to cogitate on in my absence. Inputting Rapture Departure Protocol. Figure a way to get yourself out of this city, Thinker. You've got to live
You
on.
find the art team
no
really
matter
like
what
sort
happens
of
to me.
enjoys doing this very like
We'll find a way.
bespoke environment, like this stuff right here that we're looking at.
Interestingly enough, so a lot of that stuff is done by designers. So like, I placed all this graffiti.
Did you draw it?
No, I didn't draw it.
Oh.
No. So our art team, made the assets and stuff. And yeah, it's fun to do the research, and like this thing right here, for instance, like this little chart is based on an actual like chart for how you would put plugs into a mainframe computer to rewire it and stuff. And these equations are about probability and determinism. And that stuff is great. And then arranging them in such a way that it starts to tell the player more about the world is sort of between design and art. So there's like this presence, the Thinker,
The question is,
that you've been hearing from or hearing
written
about.
by Porter.
The code printer
Not Porter.
is
That stuff is
up to
written by
the
Wall.
Yeah, yes. It's sort of the process of him trying to figure out what's going on before the player does, and before Porter achieves his goal. And this is like a big custom asset. We did a bunch of sketches. It's based on a very high tech, sci-fi version of a lot of technology that like Tesla coils and capacitors and stuff that would have existed at the time. And this is the computer brain of the Thinker.
I bet you love doing that. Just going through all that stuff. Seems like
Yeah, no, the research was great. Like we learned a ton about just what computation in the early part of the century was, and like UNIVAC and ENIAC, and what programming meant back then, and the whole the progression from truly analog machinery for computation through like actual electric computation electronics and I should have bought Decoy. Decoy's good, just to strength the shit out of people.
We read a book by Michael Chabin with a book cast this month.
Yeah.
And I saw an interview with him. He was talking about I think it might have been on Fresh Air, or somebody was asking him, how do you, like, he was working on Policeman's Union. Somebody said, how did you come about this story, and how do you pick, you have very specific backdrops for your novels, how do you pick them?
Yeah.
And he said, I really just think about what do I want to learn about. Like, he didn't know anything about comics before writing Cavalier and Clay.
Oh, interesting.
He was interested in comics and liked comics, but he didn't know anything about the history of comics.
That's fascinating.
And I sort of like that as a creator. Like,
Yeah.
it's cool coming at it like, what do I want to be, like, an expert on in 2 years? Yeah.
Alright, so I'm going to go into this control booth, which the point of it is you are supposed to dump out the programming of the Thinker onto physical cards, so you can put them in the in the.
Yeah, I've got all the cards. Don't worry.
I've memorized all the codes.
They're just like they're just
He's memorized all the codes.
Doug.
He's memorized all the
If this was Doug, this game would be over by now. Yeah, Doug would have memorized all the codes, and we'd be in the bathysphere.
So I'm gonna go through a little of this stuff. It's a two-step process. It's like we're going to start printing out a physical version of this thing onto punch cards. So you start it, and it's going, and then whoa, things are happening.
You have forced
So here's
my
wall right
hand.
outside the window.
The
with
real
you.
life
Shut
version
down.
of this underwater
That leaves
super
only
city
two
driven by
variables.
a
You and me. The
Tesla inspired
equation
computer will be a
ends
lot of cards.
here.
It's him. Always through glass, you guys.
Just wait for
Herr
it.
Sigma, it is Dr.
So
Tannenbaum.
Tannenbaum
He comes up
The
and gets
computer
oh, man, you know the
disabled.
camera.
Minerva's den is falling to pieces.
No
No pressure regulation, no air
So
supply.
he's sent in the big boys to stop you. And Tenenbaum is contacting you directly for the first time in years, showing that she's here, present, watching, trying to help you out. But basically, all this shit is going to hell, and you have to waste these guys not just to win the game, but because essentially the machinery's been put into overdrive and some bad shit. You're not going to be getting out of the city alive if you don't do something about it. I'm just gonna work on these guys a little bit. Behind me, bros? Wait, that guy's dead. I'm not gonna hack this one. I'm out of rockets. I'm gonna use this burst cell, that'll be good.
This was the first fight in this game I remember that was like very bad.
Oh really? Did they work on did they do some bad damage to you? Welp. Guess that's good, because it's the last one too. It's good it was worth the damn.
Professional gainer here.
Thanks. Thanks.
Professional gainer.
Yeah.
We tried to do a lot here with verticality because it needed to be, feel like an arena that was worth fighting in, because you're going to have, this big confrontation with the toughest guys in the game. So we wanted to say, all right, if I go, upstairs and I'm fighting a guy, God, where are they? Oh, Jesus. Oh yeah. I can either get the high ground on him, or if he chases me up here, I can jump over the railing and get back down there and lose him.
Yeah.
There's no fault.
Stuff like that is great. I love stuff like that in games.
Yeah.
Mess with an enemy's pathfinding.
There he is. There is fall damage, but it's pretty light, and it takes kind of a lot to actually run into it. Ah. No! He headbutted me! I gotta get out of here, guys! Guys! Help! Ah!
Anyway, just gonna browse through.
So yeah, you guys enjoying it? Having a good time?
Video
Okay.
game that you
Should I buy the stuff or?
Cake.
Okay.
Eat one of those.
I'll just shove it in my big daddy face.
No face hits.
Oh, some drill fuel. I'm not gonna need money after this. Fuck it.
Chips.
Chips.
Have a
Yerp.
coffee, dude.
And back to the shit. Where's the guy? Oh yeah, I bailed out after him as noted, so now he's still up here. Oh, there's two of them? Fuck!
Hug?
I don't. Well, if I had hypnotize, I could. Oh yeah, and they actually jump down too to get away from you. I can make them headbutt each other.
That's what big guys experience affection.
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
Oh man, down he goes.
It's an interesting culture that they have.
Down he goes. Oh my goodness. Oh god. Oh god.
When she's doing wrong for you in BioShock, it's just an explosion of just, particle effects and crazy shaders and shit.
That stuff never slows down.
Yeah.
I should use these. Mini turrets.
You've been doing that fire, dude.
Mini turrets.
Oh man.
I love
So,
the turrets.
yeah, me too. I should have used them more up to this point. But yeah, you throw them around and you can just have damage going at these guys. And it distracts them. They're not super powerful, but
I've always set up my...
Oh my god!
wait for it.
stand before you.
I'd always set up
The
my little
trusted
sister
partner who put a
like
knife in
defense
your back.
scenarios
Yeah.
and buy it
Do
too, so that I would
not
just never, I would,
disappoint
you know, as much as possible, never have to fire bullets myself
Right,
after
yes.
they started.
And there's an achievement for that.
Yeah,
you can get an
I got
achievement
it
for
very early,
never
yeah,
doing
yeah.
any direct damage to an enemy in a Little Sister Siege. So now Wall himself comes out, and he has some controlled bots, and he shoots electric buck at you, and I think is immune to electricity. I'm just going to shoot a fuck ton of gravity wall at him, because fuck this guy.
You were ruining this dude's day.
Well, because he deserves
Also, I
it.
like that
Yeah.
right, this is what he can take. This is the punishment that he's capable of.
I'm going to need you to go to bed, buddy. Let's go sleep.
How many crazy early stage bugs did you see because of gravity wall?
Some. Yeah, I mean, you know, like, well, like the physics system in BioShock and BioShock 2 is pretty robust because there was already telekinesis. Like, you could already just pick up tons of shit in the world and just throw it really fast at enemies, and the game just had to deal with it. You know, had to deal with it.
The game works.
But Gravity Well is a little bit of a different level from that. Oh, no, not that, man. Fuck you, die!
I just want to point out, regarding Reed Wall, JP said, geez, he's more
Quickly,
of a
take
meat
the
wall
administrator punch card
Nice.
from
So,
Wall's body
just gonna
and
pass that on.
reactivate the thinker.
to the stream.
That's
Oh, like yeah, like you have to make interesting meat choices in the game.
Meat choice. That's where the name came from.
So he's got the administrator punch card on him, which is basically you can take control back from Wall to.
Oh, that means you can. Oh, that totally means you can install a game on the computer during third period.
Well, so I turned achievements off so they wouldn't jump up in my face while I was playing this, but all of the achievements are named after like administrator commands for like networking. So I think when you kill Wall and get the administrator punch card from him, the achievement is called Chown, CHOWN, which is change owner. And like root access granted is when you get into the third level and stuff like that. So yeah, we try to do something with the achievements and the idea of the computerization of this place. All right, so here comes the big twist.
Confirming user's genetic identity.
A laptop comes out.
Genetic identity confirmed. Alpha series. Subject Sigma. Former identity. Charles Milton Porter.
You should hear it.
Welcome back, Milton.
System. Ending personality duplication. Subject Charles Milton Porter.
You see now why I let the machine speak for you, Mr. Porter. We needed a voice that would be familiar, comforting, your own. With that copy of the Thinker's programming, we may return to the surface and use it to restore you to the man you once were. Please, collect the printout and meet me at your bathysphere dock. Take your time, Mr. Porter. I will be waiting.
Oh, twist!
Lazari has been asking many times, but I wanted to wait for this question until that happened. He says, at what point in development did you think of the twist?
It was okay. So I'm gonna go through the full. I'm gonna unstack. I'm gonna unload all of this stuff.
This is hot scoops
Here
prime.
come the scoops. Okay, so
reveal the dinner reveal.
You're gonna remove the dinner revealer off these hot scoops.
Yeah.
Dinner revealer removed, hot scoops inside.
So Minerva's we knew we wanted to do single player DLC for BioShock 2, and at some point during development, JP told me about during the development of Bio 1, he and the lead designer of BioShock had just had a totally off the cuff discussion of like, what if, so like BioShock and System Shock, totally different, publishers, and the fiction is not directly linked or anything, but they were like, what if we implied that the high technology from Rapture was what led to the creation of, like, Shodan in the System Shock universe, like, hundreds of, 150, however many years later. Wouldn't that be cool? Well, anyway. And so I was like, well, if we, and I was like, we should do this DLC about computerization and stuff, and I was like, what if we could use that idea that, like, what if, totally unofficially, etc. We tried to imply that, right? So, because, we were like, okay, it'll basically be a System Shock 2 homage of, there's this supercomputer that can imitate people, and the person who's giving you orders you think is someone, but it's actually someone else, and blah blah blah. And so then we started thinking through the implications of that, where it's like, okay, the guy created this thing, and if your mission in the entire DLC was get the programming from this thinking machine that can imitate people out of Rapture up to the surface, maybe that could have gone on to be the first step in Shodan, the sentient, hyper-optimized data access network. Just as, like an in-jokey kind of thing, we don't make part of the fiction or anything that's foregrounded. But when you look at, like, these punch cards, for instance, it says, I'll put this up big, it says RODIN output. So it's an acronym, and it's pronounced like Rodan, the sculptor of the thinker, the sculpture that you see in the beginning, the nickname of the computer, and it stands for Rapture Operational Data Interpreter Network, which is established in like one of the first things you hear from Porter. And so there's all this twisty shit of like, it sounds kind of like Shodan, and you take a few letters and it turns from Rapture Operational Data Interpreter Network to Optimized Data Access Network, hyper optimized sentient hyper, and so that all, you look at these punch cards, and this is output from the thinker saying, processing Rapture Departure Protocol, which is the command that Porter gave it before the start of gameplay. And then receiving transmission from Bridget Tenenbaum, which is like she's been in contact with the machine, and then reallocating resource subject Sigma destination Minerva's den. So this idea that the machine, after Porter telling it, figure out how to get yourself out of Rapture, and making contact with Tenenbaum, reasoned out, if I could get Porter, who's been turned into a Big Daddy, back here, I'd be able to get myself out of Rapture if I can just get him to the computer core, because it requires Porter's genetic signature to do this at all. And so then, and end of the day, to answer the original question, it had not started out quite that way. Like, it was very much just a straight up, like, reimagining of System Shock 2 up to the Polito reveal, where it was like, you thought it was Porter giving you directions the whole time, then you get there, actually Porter's been dead the whole time, and the computer basically tricked you into getting it out of Rapture by impersonating him. And, I wrote that up, we had a treatment for it, and I talked to Zach McClendon and Jordan Thomas, and, it was incredibly important to have, like, their feedback and their input, because, we had a meeting, and they were just like, I don't think that's good enough. Like, I don't think that's interesting enough. You get to that reveal, and it's like, okay, fine, and then what, credits roll, Right. And we were sitting in that meeting, and I was like, okay, you're right, like, and I think I involuntarily did the mental inventory of like, wait a second, we've got Porter and Wall, and the player character, who is this cipher without an identity, and every Big Daddy used to be somebody, they're not just, they're brainwashed people, And in my mind, in my estimation up to this point, Porter is dead, but that gives us this opportunity for, what if Porter's not dead and the person that Sigma used to be was him? And so it allowed us to make the story of this place more personal and more directly connected to the player and the player's actions than if we hadn't pushed ourselves a little harder and said, like, well, who could the player be, and what are the opportunities there, and are we on idle thumbs, because I think I hear a siren.
Scoops police are coming after you. Too many scoops revealed.
You're under arrest. You're revealing too hot of scoops. After this point, we don't tell the player, but there is no more combat, there's no more enemies. We could just roll credits, but we take the player's weapons away. And you've finally gone down into Porter's living space. So I'm going to let this play out. because this diary is about when Porter succeeds at bringing back. Yeah, take it. At getting the Thinker to emulate Pearl, and how that, what the implications are there. Is it not playing? That's exciting. Hope that didn't happen to anybody else. Let's see. How do I do this? No. Right. Ah, yes. Okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
I believe
Is it playing?
I'm done feeding audio recordings and personal anecdotes to the Thinker. I am set to test the
Someone else said that happened to me.
personality
That's bad.
duplication function. Target personality, Pearl Porter. Thinker, are you ready?
Yes, Milton.
Starting test. Hello, Pearl.
Hello, Milton.
How have you been?
Just wonderful, Milton. I've missed you, though. It's been so long.
Pearl, No, this isn't right. It isn't her. Thinker, stop the test.
But what's the matter, Milton?
Oh, God.
Don't you still love me?
Oh, God, Oh, God, I said end function, Thinker. Now! It's over.
It's great.
So yeah, it's one of these things where we wanted to. I think that a story like this, like any story that you write, the most important thing is to follow it through to its logical conclusion. And for us, it was most interesting to say, if Porter had this ambition, and he actually achieved it, would it actually make him happy? And the answer is probably not. But it's all about, I think something that's very native to the idea of story in a BioShock game is the idea of someone with overarching ambition that makes them blind to the implications of what they're trying to do, and if they actually achieved it, what that would lead to. I think that was part of the downfall of Andrew Ryan, like being blind to everything that was falling apart as he reached for his ultimate goal of like this city that was perfectly independent. And so in Minerva's Den, it's a much more just smaller, more personal story about one person and the people who were important to him. And so following those themes through to someone with an amazing amount of talent and ability and ingenuity to achieve something that perhaps if he just took a minute to sit back and think about it, he should let go and not even try. He can't make that revelation until he actually sees what it means to do those things.
The Thinker never gave up on you, Mr. Porter. It could not leave you behind. Please, step up to the console and begin the bathysphere launch sequence. We have much work ahead of us.
There's this little character note in here where, the Thinker is a thinking and reasoning machine as we lay it out, and all it's told to do is get itself out of Rapture. There's a little note here where Tenenbaum says the Thinker couldn't leave you behind. Like, it wasn't part of his orders to get Porter out too, but the Thinker figured out a way to engineer it so he wouldn't just maintain the Thinker's own ability to live on, but Porter also gets to return to the surface and live on his life. Because part of the backstory that we didn't get into while we were playing it was that Tenenbaum, in the meantime, has figured out a way to reverse the effects of using Adam on people to turn them into Big Daddies. So when you get to the surface, he'll be able to be reverted into a living human being. So we did a little work throwing stuff, doing some environmental storytelling kind of stuff here. Like, we were like, all right, how are you going to do that if you get to the surface? So she's got some samples of Adam to use for the process of curing Porter. but we're also like, how the hell did she get into this bathysphere? So she's got a wrench and a pistol because she fought her way here. And Tenenbaum in BioShock 1 and 2, when you encounter her, she'd always be smoking. So there's this pack of cigarettes and then cigarette butts. We're like, she's been waiting here for a while. She's probably been chain smoking while she waits. And then here's all these punch cards that are all printed out and boxed up and reels of data and all that kind of stuff. So this is what you're taking to the surface with you. She was reading a book, and the little punch card is their bookmark in the book.
That's awesome.
And this is one of the only times that, like, aside from when you're playing as a little sister in BioShock 2, that you get to be in the same room with a character, and you can walk right up to her, and she head tracks to you and just sort of looks at you with concern. But you're still in your Big Daddy form, so you don't have the power of speech, and your weapons are taken away, and it's just like a safe time to be within physical distance of another character.
This is the door for the future.
And so we got a little closeout monologue with a slideshow, basically talking about what happens when Porter gets back to the surface.
And the fall of Rapture. They took my memory, my voice, everything that made me a man, but nothing ever scared me so much as saying goodbye. I wanted to save you. I couldn't resist trying to bring you back the only way I knew how. But you didn't want that. I know it now. And I think I'm finally ready to let you go your way. I stand here with the sun on my face, and it's almost like I can feel you smiling. Goodbye, Pearl. I love you more than I've got words for. Milton.
So there's a lot of nice visual symmetry all the way through the game. The image of her tombstone earlier, and then him next to it at the end. That's awesome.
Cool.
Good, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got to see the end finally. Holy God, that's awesome.
Devin St. Clair and Carla were responsible for those slides that we showed between the characters and the kind of photo manipulation and stuff like that. As well as things where, again, the constraints that we were working under, I think, may force us to make something that I think worked better than it might have if we were just given full thrust to do whatever. Like just those 4 images and Porter's voice, I think.
No, it's funny. It's all you need. It's all you want.
Yeah, and it allows the player to make the connections and superimpose the meaning of it without just a big cutscene that plays it all out.
Yeah.
Frame by frame for you to just watch or whatever. So yeah, that was Minerva's Den.
Thanks for showing us, man.
Yeah. I'm also glad you got to see the ending, Sean.
Yeah,
it's
awesome,
cool.
It's awesome work, man. It's really great.
And it's obviously if you want to play this at home, grab it on Xbox or PSN or Games for Windows Live. I skipped a ton of stuff. Like I'm the kind of we had people report anywhere from 2-something hours to get through it to 5 or 6 or more hours, because if you really explore everything, we packed in a lot. But we just kind of showed the core of the experience there, and thanks for watching.
Cool, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Watch another stream.
Bye.
Then you have to use the drop down.
Okay.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. It's forever.